Thankful to be here today and thankful to get to share with you all what God has blessed us to be able to do and what God is doing through many men over in Kenya and Uganda. And we want to share that. A thought upon our heart from the scripture is, the Bible teaches us to be ye thankful. If there's anything I could ever spread from the people of Kenya that we met and even the people in Uganda, is that they're very thankful. They have a lot less than what we do, but yet they're thankful for what they have. And it is good for us to remember to be thankful always for what all God's done for us, because our life is not about what's down here. It's about what we have waiting with the Lord. And even the work that we do down here is to lay up treasure in heaven, and Lord willing, to see more souls come to Christ, to see more people know His love and His forgiveness. We do want to get started. This is our fourth year going to Kenya, and it was our first time to ever go to Uganda. And so that's totally new to us. There's us leaving on February the 17th, and Brother Jared with us. We always invite anybody that wants to come with us to come, but usually how that goes is I'll have about 10 people a year contact me, somewhere, might be 7, might be 11, somewhere in there, but usually around 10, and they start asking questions. And the first things I have to tell them is, shots. You got to get a yellow fever. You got to get typhoid. You got to get hepatitis A and B if you don't already have it, and things of that nature. And there's just a good list of shots. And that scares some people away right there. And I can tell you, I don't like needles, so I didn't like getting them either. But it's a part of it. And then you start getting into things, of cost and things of that nature. Even with Brother Jared, one of the first things we mentioned to him was, can you take off about 3 weeks from work? That's a difficult thing to do. Now, we don't tell people they have to stay the whole time with us. If somebody wanted to come for 1 week and then catch a ride back and fly back or something like that, they're welcome to do that. But, we stay there about 3 weeks. And because we've got to visit several churches and several places. But Brother Jared, he was ready to go. We're thankful he came with us. Of course, Brother Brad's been with us since the beginning, and our family came with us last year and this year again. In fact, after last year, my wife told me I'm not allowed to go with just me and Brother Brad anymore. So we have that going forward. But we left and we arrived. As usual, we have started off, and we might change this next year a little bit, but we usually start off in the Navasha area. Berean Baptist Church and a Hindu Baptist Church is in these locations, and it's about 3 hours north of Nairobi, the capital of Kenya. And so we take that trip first, going to Navasha, and this was Berean Baptist Church when we started with them, and even last year they were in an old used tin building. They were renting that building to begin with, and then they owned the property and were happy about that, but they had outgrown it last year. And as we said last year, we want to try to build, on average at least, one permanent building every year. They were in great need of that because of situations they were dealing with, and so they were able to get that this year. And there is the new completed building. I say completed, there's still some flooring work, some lighting work, a few different things left to be done, but for the most part it is finished. And you're able to fit about 400 people in that building. And so it's a blessing to be able to see that. It costs around $33,000, $34,000 to get a building like that completed where you can seat 400 people. And that might seem like a lot of money, but most of us can't build something for that cost here. And it's a blessing. Of course, pastor there is Brother Abraham Mabashu. You see his picture there with his wife, Sister Martha. Brother Abraham will be here in about 4 weeks. He is coming to America for the association. He's only going to be able to stay 2 weeks. So I have a lot of people requesting his time. And yet there's only so many days, so many hours, and so we can't get him everywhere. I will tell you this, he will be at a Tuesday night service on the 22nd excuse me, 22nd of April at County Line Baptist Church with Brother Steve Ellis. He'll be with us on a Tuesday night at Faith in Mobile. On the 29th, that's the same day as Interstate Foreign Association, he'll be with us that night in service, and there'll be a Thursday night service, May the 4th, at Runsville Baptist Church out near Leakesville, Mississippi. So some different places. He'll also be at the Youth Sing in April, and Brother Brent Long has invited him to bring the devotion, so you can meet him there also. But we're thankful that he has been able to get his visa, been able to come, and we're certainly looking forward to him coming and being here because he can explain things that he's dealing with better than we can. This is some of the church members. They're at Berean Baptist Church and love to be in service with them. While we were there, they gave us the authority to baptize some people. I think it was 7 that we got to baptize, and Brother Brad and I taking part. We had to pull out some grass out of the way, some water grass, to get into the water to baptize. And there was a big hole right behind where we were baptizing. I fell off into that hole, and that wasn't a big deal. That's just part of it. Probably people baptizing here have had similar things, but it was a nice experience, a nice time to be with them. And hippos were about 100 yards from us while we were doing that. But as long as you're not a threat to them, they weren't too concerned about us. They were just eating. If we became a threat to them, that would have been a different subject because more people are killed by hippos than nearly any other animal in Kenya combined. They're the number one killer outside of mosquitoes in all of Africa. But we weren't too afraid. I had the dock right there, and again, we weren't a threat to them, so I wasn't too worried about how they were going to react. This is some of those that were baptized. We got to take a picture with them on that Sunday. This is the school. We've mentioned several times about the school that they have at the church, at Berean Church. They do this because of the poverty level in the area. If you go to public school, you have to pay school fees. It's about $10 a month, but some of these people are making around $100 to $200 a month. That's working, 50, 60 hour a week, and they're making around $100, $200 American a month. And so sometimes they're having a hard time getting their kids to school. Progressive Academy at Berean Church tries to help out. They go through the 4th grade right now. They've got about 75 kids coming. A lot of these kids don't get fed unless they're fed at the church while they're going to school. And we try to help out with that. It costs us about $75 a week to feed these kids. It's about $1 a week per child, and that gets them some flatbread. It gets them a little bit of drink. We are able to get them some milk occasionally, even some fruits occasionally, but getting them a little bit of nutrition because a lot of these kids do go home hungry, and their parents have to make hard choices with their money, and they don't have a lot of help. And so the church tries to feed them some, and we have a program with this school to feed those kids. It costs, again, about $75 a week. Here was some of the kids from the school singing a special. It's a blessing to get to hear them say their Bible verses and get to hear them sing. By the time they graduate high school, if they go all the way through high school, if they get to that place, they will know 3 languages. They will know their tribal language. They will know Swahili. They will also know English. Here's some of them playing. I think Joseph was trying to teach them baseball in the picture on the right. They were taking part in some classes. My wife has a degree in elementary education, so they had her teach some classes while she was there. This is what we buy for a week. That's about a week's worth of food for the kids. You see some of the salt, the sugar, some of the meal, flour, things of that nature, the oil that is bought every week. We went to the grocery store to buy that week so we could give an example of what's being purchased with that money. Here's one of the ladies cooking. This is called chapati. It's a flatbread type thing that they make over there. The kids love it. It actually does taste pretty good, and they'll make that there on the skillet. Then we went to our Hindu Baptist church with Brother Peter. We met Brother Peter our first year over in Kenya, and we've been meeting with him every year ever since. Even though that Brother Peter and Brother Abraham are basically in the same city, they're about an hour to an hour and a half apart from each other. They're on opposite sides, and it takes a good while to get to one another. It's not just a quick interstate, take the next exit type deal. You have to go around, it seems like, in a big circle to finally get to our Hindu Baptist church with Brother Peter. This is a brand new, the building that you see in pink at the bottom left, that is a outhouse. They've actually got lights in it now also, but that was an extension of the bathrooms they needed. That is also a Sunday school room for the young people that's been built this year. It cost about $2,800, $3,000 to build a Sunday school room like that. And they're needing another one while their younger kids have a Sunday school room. The teenagers don't have one right now. So that's one of the projects we're working on this year. Also, I didn't mention back with Berean Church that we did get gutters on the church recently. And for Brother Abraham, he is going into Uganda, which we'll touch on in a little bit. He does have a vehicle, but the roads in Uganda, not only that, but also in Kenya, you get far away from where he lives, a little bit bumpy. And, he's got kind of like a minivan type vehicle. And it does not do well on roads that you really need a four-wheel drive for. And so that's one of the things he has mentioned this year going into Uganda. He needs something so we don't tear up his vehicle trying to get him over into Uganda. And that takes several hours to get there. And here we are going to Uganda. The picture on the left was people signing up for Bibles. And we're learning new stuff all the time. I was amazed when we crossed the border going from Kenya to Uganda. It was really like you were entering a different world. And I really had a hard time placing that. We're used to going from Mississippi to Alabama or Louisiana, and there's a lot of things similar around here. But when we left from Kenya to Uganda, it was just a different world. The architecture was even different. When you would see buildings and houses, what people lived in, it was different than what we had experienced in Kenya. The way the people ate food and did different things. All of a sudden we get into Uganda, the atmosphere is just a little bit different. They get a little bit more rain there, and all of a sudden you were seeing banana trees in every yard. There was banana trees, there was avocado trees, and they had more food than they had in Kenya, a lot more. While in Kenya you got to struggle with food in some areas, we went to Uganda and there was just food everywhere. As far as like trees in people's yards, and people could just stop and get a ripe banana off a tree right there in their yard. They did plant fields and different things, and it was different. But because everybody's got food in Kenya, if you have land and you got food, you can sell it to somebody else and make a little money. But in Uganda, because everybody's already got what you might be trying to sell them, you can't sell it. And so the poverty level in Uganda was a lot worse. And that was an amazing thing to see. I even had to be selective on some of the pictures I put on, because some of the little kids didn't have any clothes. If they were about 3 years old or younger, they might be naked. And the poverty level was different. You see some of the huts, the houses there. They were signing up. Also, I found out that Uganda is not like most of East Africa. They don't speak Swahili as much. They're trying to learn it and grow it in that community so that it can unite more of East Africa. But they speak purely, for the most part, Ugandan. And they even, for their Bibles, we thought, hey, we could get them some Swahili Bibles, but that worked for a few, but it didn't work for everybody. So we're working on that right now. That's why we're taking a sign-up list there in the picture on the left, to get them some Bibles. And we're still working on that project. We had service there at the first service underneath the tree. It took us a while to get to them. We spent a little bit longer times going through customs than we expected, but we got over there and had service underneath the tree for a little bit of shade. Several people showed up. Not every one of them's in the picture. There were some to our left, some behind us, some coming in front of us, but had a number just show up to hear the Word of God right up under a tree. Then we had a service at a house. You might can see in the picture on the right there in front, there's some yellow things. That's bananas right off the tree. I even ate a banana. That might not mean much to you, but I hadn't touched a banana in about 25 years. So for me to eat a banana, that was a different thing. But I figured as the old saying goes, while in Rome, do as the Romans do. I ate a banana, and it was actually the best one I've ever had. So it was pretty good. But we had that service with them. We got some Bibles for some of the people that could read Swahili and shared that. Also, I had to have an extra interpreter. I was preaching in English. Brother Abraham would speak in Swahili, and then a man that could understand Swahili and speak Ugandan was translating into Ugandan. So we had extra help on that one. Then we would go up north. Go north of Eldoret and get into the Nangili community or the Katali area. This is with Upendo Landmark Baptist Church for Brother Godfrey. They are currently renting this building that you see. They don't own it yet. And again, that's one of the projects we have. We can't build a well until they own the land. And we try to build a church and at least a metal building, things of that nature. So Upendo Baptist Church here with Brother Godfrey. And I will say this, they were getting their crops ready, and how they get the fields ready sometimes is they light everything on fire and burn it before they go and till up the ground. And while we were there with Brother Godfrey, we had to inhale a good bit of smoke while we were trying to preach and have service, but that's just how things go. At Capisar Church, where Brother Abraham Kasili, they technically own their building, but they owe money to the hardware store that they used to build it with. They didn't say a loan, but that's basically what you would have it. They wrote everything down, and they've been slowly paying it off over time. And so they don't really fully own the building yet. It is under their name, it is theirs, but they still owe the hardware store about $5,000 left for what they have. They also don't have a Sunday school room right now. They have an old mud building that the kids are meeting in, and it's right beside the outhouse. And if you ever imagine kids having Sunday school right beside an outhouse, that would be a different thing to imagine. I didn't take a picture of that. I was just trying to take it all in and take my notes. But they need to redo that outhouse a little bit, and they also need to build a metal building. But they have to buy that little strip of land that mud building is currently on to build a Sunday school room. So that's some of the projects we got going on this year. They also do not have a well at this church yet. They are about also an hour and a half west of the Katali community, so we had to drive a little ways to get to Brother Abraham at this location. This is Abraham Kasali, of course, not Mabashi. Then we would go to Nema Baptist Church. Last year they were renting this building with Brother John, their pastor. A little bitty space, probably not as much as I would say even half of this pulpit area. I mean, it was a small area. We had our backs up against the wall. You could see the wooden benches out front. And even on a weekday, they were filled up with people standing outside. You can imagine what it was on a Sunday. And when you rent a place, you don't have bathrooms. You don't have things of your own. You definitely don't have a Sunday school class or anything like that. So they were really struggling last year when we met with them because of space. This year, they have their own church. This church has been provided by churches over here. It costs around $10,000 to $12,000 to build a church like this. It's metal. And they have this church. They also have several things that go along with it. There's a shower there on the left that's connected to the outhouse. They have a shower that's hooked up. It's just cold water from the well, but it's better than nothing. It goes a long way. You'll see a solar panel on top of the church there on the picture of the middle. That's where they pump the water. They use that solar energy to pump the water out of the ground and into the tank that you see there on the right. And so that gets them their water and makes a big difference. And in fact, that well was purchased, I think, 2 weeks before we went to Kenya. Even before we arrived, they dug it. They only had to go down 60 feet for that well, so we were blessed there. Normally it's around 100, but they found water at 60 feet and were able to get that whole well done in 2 weeks. And so we were kind of surprised. We thought we'd see the beginning process of it when we got there, but we saw it fully functional by the time we got there, and we're thankful to see that. While we were there, they had us plant some trees in the yard. All of us, they had us plant a tree. Even the kids. Then we would go to Lakissi Baptist Church with Brother Humphrey. At this church, they have about 30 orphans at this church. Every church has some orphans. They have widows. There's illnesses that can happen. Sometimes even a small thing can lead to have devastating effects because if they can't get the antibiotics they need, if they can't get attention that they need, things can happen. There's no stop signs, no red lights in Kenya. I did find one old, worn out stop sign in one town, but normally we don't see a stop sign or a red light or anything like that. You just fit in on the roads where you can. And so if somebody's riding a motorcycle, a wreck can lead to horrible things. And there is death. There's no OSHA in Kenya, so you do jobs at your own risk, even digging the wells by hand or whether it's construction work on big buildings. There are accidents that happen, and when those things happen, you do have children left without a mama, without a daddy, and wives without a husband sometimes. So at this church, they have 30 orphans that they're working with, trying to take care of. You see the picture of the whole church there on the picture on the left, and then some of the Sunday school kids that were singing there on the right. This is a Sunday school room that has been built there this year. Again, we're thankful for the hands that have helped to get things like this accomplished this year. I know that's been a big blessing for them to have that this year. Then we would go to Soy Sambu Baptist Church with Brother Andrew. This is a new point. This will be a petitionary letter coming into the association this year. And they are just getting started and already have a big crowd. They've only been going about 1 year, and they're already in this rented space, packed full. There were people having to give up their chairs all service. Some of the kids would have a chair at the beginning, and then maybe a lady would come in with a small child or something. They'd have to give up the chair for her, and it was a good crowd with even people outside while we were having service with them. This is Matoto Baptist Church with Brother Henry as the pastor. They are a big congregation. When we started with them 4 years ago, they had about 70 people coming in a small rented building, and a lot of poor people in this area, very poor people, probably on the same level of poverty as we saw in Navasha with Brother Abraham. And so very poor, but they're up to over 200 people now in church. Probably on Sundays, when you count the kids, it's probably 230, 240. They're growing a lot. And every year we go there, it seems like somebody's having another baby about the time that we arrive. They're just having babies left and right over there at this church. In fact, there's one that's named Brandon over there. And Susan's got to hold him a couple of times. There's one that's called Brad, and they said one mother agreed to name hers Jared. Brother Jared going with us this year, and they've kind of laughed a little bit. Nobody's been having a girl when the ladies are with us, so they're thinking maybe next year there'll be a Susan or sister or Sabrina after Brother Brad's wife, but we got a kick out of that. This is the Sunday school room, both empty and full at the church. You'll notice the few motorcycles that people have. Most of the people don't have any vehicle. So when you see somebody with a motorcycle, that's not the most common thing, but there's a few people that have a motorcycle at this church. I mean, when you think about 200 people coming, 4 or 5 motorcycles, not a big thing. They usually don't, when they buy land, they don't think about parking spots. That's not something on their list. But to keep the heat off the seat, the sun off the seats, they put them inside the Sunday school room when it's not in use. And of course, the kids, they're filling up the Sunday school room after. We have had a little bit of help with trying to feed these Sunday school kids. I know at a Hindu Baptist church, we feed about 60 kids on a Sunday, and it costs $40 to do that. We're working on that. Here at Matoto Baptist Church, it would take about $100 a week just to have a meal for all the kids on a Sunday. So, you know, it's a project we're trying to get into. We've sporadically been able to do that, but not on a consistent basis. Then we go to Ararat Baptist Church with Brother Joshua. They have a long church. Of course, they even made the bricks by hand for this church, and it was built last year. They still got things to do. It's still a dirt floor. Project is trying to get tile on the floor this year. That's one of the better things to have for longevity. That'll last a good while, so we're working on that project this year. There's a couple of other little things we're trying to work on them with. But they're blessed to have this building and to be in this area. I thought we had a picture more of the inside, but the one on the right, you can get a little bit of depth of things. We're trying to figure out what to do for our Sunday school room. They don't have any more land. They could buy a piece of land that's right beside them, but I feel like it's a little expensive. I'm trying to remember the cost. I think it's around $5,000. For an eighth of an acre that's beside them, or a tenth of an acre that's beside them. I know that land is very expensive in Kenya, but that seems to be a little bit much for the area. So we're trying to figure out if we can, since they have a long church, maybe cut off a portion of the church, wall it up on the inside, and do Sunday school that way. We're just looking into different things that we might be able to do. We had a leaders meeting at Kasambe Baptist Church. This is where Brother Agray Mawali pastors. And we had a leaders meeting there. This is Sunday school teachers, deacons, some of the preachers, some of the licensed ministers that you see there on the right. We tried to do some Bible studies on a few different subjects about godly worship, about orderly, decent, type worship service, things that we're trying to teach. And also they had asked us questions about feet washing service with the Lord's Supper. How do we carry that on? How do we do that? Well, I taught a lesson on that, on the importance of the feet washing service, and how if we just do the service, that's not what God wants us to do. He wants to follow the principles in the service, which is, of course, to be a servant. God has called us to be servants. It's what God has called us to do. So we taught that, and we tried to show them by example how to do that. And we let them wash our feet. We washed their feet, and enjoyed that service, trying to teach and show how we carried that on here. Last year, this was Faithway Baptist Mission. They were a whole church, but the land had been taken away from them. And they had really suffered and gone through a hardship, and lost their building, lost their church, and all the work that they had put in, even a well that was on that property and everything else. So a very difficult situation that they dealt with, and they started off in this building last year, a little rented space that they used, and it overflowed quickly. Even one Sunday, I think they baptized 14 while they were in this small building. But now they have a building of their own. and we are thankful for that. They even have a well. They do not have a Sunday school yet, so that's a project that we're working on this year. One of the things we're trying to deal with. We do try to do some different things to help people along. One of them is occasionally we'll buy things like a sewing machine to help somebody make some money where they can do some fabrics. We do this with some of the widows sometimes maybe a pastor's wife to help them along if there's something they can do. We try to do projects to help the churches to try to take care of themselves over time. But there's a lot of work to be done, but we're thankful for what that's been blessed with. Last year we went to Uganda Baptist Church with Brother Samuel. They were renting this building. I say building, just the room on the building. At the end, it was very dark in there. You couldn't see. There was no lights. Certainly there was no bathroom, no Sunday school room, things of this nature. But again, they got a church building this year, and we were thankful for that. They still don't have a Sunday school room, but they do have a nice property there, a full church, full congregation. I will say this, the last big project on our list from last year was a well for this church. And when we got back home from Kenya, there was offerings, I think, from 2 different churches that were enough that was able to get that well built, and that they now have running water with the pump there at the church, and we're thankful for that. Then we go to a new mission point outside of Nairobi at Kanane Mission. Brother Agre Mawali is also taking part in this. He travels several hours coming from the Katali area down to where Kanani is. They were overflowing. As you can see in the picture, they're in a room on a house. They don't have even a place to rent. They're meeting in a home right now, and it is overflowing. There were people outside. Thankful to hear that they're growing like they are. We learned in this area that they deal with a lot of hunger issues. Even some of their farms don't come through because at different parts of Kenya, they get different levels of rain, just like you do anywhere. And so in this area, they struggle getting the rain enough to get their crops up to where they have enough to eat. So those are one of the projects that we've been working on. They'll need a space of their own, but they are overflowing there in a very short amount of time, and we're thankful to see that. We distributed, while we were there, over 200 Bibles. We've done over 500 Bibles this year, as there's been around 500 professions of faith. Now, you won't see that on the baptisms. You'll see about 250, 254, somewhere in there on the baptisms. The reason is there's a whole lot of Catholic influence, a whole lot of Pentecostal influence, and even Muslim influence in some areas, and some do not follow the Lord in baptism, sadly. Those are things we want to see a greater percentage of those that trust in Christ following the Lord in baptism. But we are thankful for those who have trusted in Christ, and we're thankful that those that diligently follow Him. Even last year we met a Muslim woman that had turned and trusted in Christ. She was raised Muslim, and a lot of places that we don't really comprehend what it's like, but when she trusted in Christ, her own parents put a hit out on her, put a contract out to have her killed. If you come across, even in America though, and I've come across this before, there's people that trust Christ out of a Catholic family, and their family won't have anything to do with them anymore. And that is the same way it is in Kenya also. So a lot of people struggle with that, of following the Lord in baptism, because they might, not fit in well with their family, things of that nature. But there is a suffering that comes with following the Lord, but the reward is far greater. Also, we took up some tithes before we went, over 100 tithes we distributed to the preachers, Sunday school teachers, things of that nature, really anybody that wanted them. We're still taking up tithes. We're going to try to send some back with Brother Abraham when he comes. I forget. I know my wife's probably already got over 50 tithes for that already. But we're continuing to collect more to give out. Also, we work on farmland. And one of the reasons that we do this, one, if people works for their own food, it makes a difference. Um, 1 acre we can lease for about $450. That is seed, fertilizer, having a tractor rented. And when I say rented, that's the driver included. That he'll just come by and plow up the land for them. Now they're responsible for putting the seed in the ground and tending to it after that. But for $450, we can lease an acre and get it planted. And we try to do that. It's planting season right now. And we're working on those projects. And if somebody wants to know how much is needed, that's an infinite amount. And I'll tell you why it's an infinite amount. 1 acre can feed about 15 families. They'll plant maize, beans, things of that nature. But the thing is, if we get to a place where they have enough where they can plant and take to the market and sell, they can make about $1,000 to $2,000 per acre selling at the market. Once they sell the product, if they have enough for everybody to eat, and then they can sell. If we just enable them to buy their own song books, their own Bibles, things of that nature, it makes somebody feel like they're doing something, they're accomplishing something. They're not dependent upon somebody else. They're contributing. And so I say when it's infinite, the needs of that is because the more we give to that project, the more they can do for themselves. Is kind of our goal with that. Even if it's a limited amount, I know that won't take up to where they're buying land or building buildings or those type of things, but it can be to where they're taking care of the Bible needs, they're taking care of their own food needs, some things like that. That it can be a blessing. And again, for $450, if we thought about it here as an investment, $450 to get $1,000 or $2,000 back in return, that's a pretty good return on your money, especially when it's helping people to feel more independent. And when you labor for something, you value it a little bit more. So that's one of the projects we're also trying to work on. Here is some dried maize there on the right. They had it out there drying, and then it's ground up into a meal formula for maize flour to help make bread and other items, all bagged up there on the left. These are hard-working people in Kenya. The picture on the right is a hand-laid wall made out of rocks. And that wall went for, my goodness, it seemed like a mile. And it was a long wall, all done by hand, all laid, one on top of another as far as rocks and blocks are concerned. Beautiful, beautiful hard work accomplished. There on the left, they're building a road, and they were breaking up the rocks as the under part of the road by hand, just doing hard manual work. Very diligent. We've got pictures of all kinds of things. You'll see them if they have a motorcycle. You'll see them carrying the bananas. You'll see them carrying potatoes, all kinds of things. They'll stack boxes on top of each other. We've seen them carrying couches and beds and all kinds of things strapped down on motorcycles. And a lot of times you even see people that don't have a means of transportation like a motorcycle. They're carrying it by hand. We have seen people walk miles one way, carrying maybe 50 to 100 pounds worth of potatoes on their back. We've seen people working on their ground with pickaxes and really struggling to get by. They're hardworking people. They just don't have a lot of opportunity. While we're there, we do see animals. I do get asked that question. We do. We actually take time to see animals before we leave. Since we're there for 3 weeks, I tell John before we leave, I said the day before we fly out, pick a spot and let's go see some animals, which we did that this year. It is not the main objective while we're there. It's certainly, even our first year there, we had no goal whatsoever to see animals. But John has tried to work it in. If you're doing all that work for many days in a row, especially when you have your kids, with you. Last year, Sister Sabrina was with Brother Brad. My wife was with me, and even Brother Jerry. There's a toll on you. It's a 30-hour flight over there, a 30-hour flight home. And again, you're working every single day with churches. And we do try to take one day of a break just to relax before we come home. And you'll see things like the antelopes, the hippos, giraffes, elephants, lions. And we've been blessed to see some of that. Our driver, John, huge help. I can't say that enough. He's our friend. He's not just our driver, and we love and appreciate John. Try to keep in touch with him all year long. He does different types of work also, even working with a girls' home there in Kenya for abused and neglected girls, try to get them through school and get them on in life. So he's got a giving heart, and we love and appreciate him and the time we get to spend with him. And of course, we're looking forward to going back again next year and seeing the progress then. I wonder if there's any questions tonight.
So Brandon just told me on every church that I asked you a question about that. Planting that acre 450 is having trouble with seed and stealing all their crops or lease owners taking back their word, taking the crops. You said that wasn't the issue.
Not an issue on food. It'd be an issue if somebody built a well on a property and it belonged to somebody. They would take that in a heartbeat or something else. But even the people that lease it for food, they usually know who they're leasing from. It's usually somebody local, somebody in the community. So it's somebody they feel like they can trust. The second part of that is dealing with thieves. There's sometimes people that'll just stay on the property. They have caretakers, even with the churches that now have electricity or might have a keyboard or something like that. They usually have what's called a caretaker home. It's usually just a small room that somebody stays at the church property and watches over to make sure nobody steals the chairs, or if they have any type of sound equipment, nobody steals that. But as far as the land is concerned, why are you going to steal food when everybody around you is hungry? A lot of these people are raised up in church, and they do have a decent set of morals. And so in a lot of the communities, that's not a big problem. But even then, there's people that'll sleep on the property to watch out for it. The weird thing is in Kenya is they'll build fences sometimes, but it's not to keep animals in like we do here. It's to keep animals out. So the animals are roaming everywhere, the goats and the cows and stuff, but they'll put a fence up to keep the cows out of the crops, or the goats out of the crops, or things of that nature. So it's interesting to see things kind of in reverse over there. Any other questions? Ma'am? When we began, we stayed in tents for about half the time at least. Now when my wife and kids coming, we same property that I stayed in tents on, at least at Navasha, they have now built a few little cottages, and so we stay in those while we're there, and then we stay in hotels. It's not Holiday Inn. Sometimes there's no hot water. Sometimes sometimes no water, and so a little bit different. But hey, if you got a bed to lay down on, it's all right. We get by. But we sometimes stay in hotels, or we stay in tents also.
What was the government related for or against y'all coming to teach?
The government gives us no problems. I will say this: in Kenya, in the public schools, it's required to take a Bible course. So they give us no problems. In fact, I've preached several times at schools since we've been going to Kenya, and had kids take off from school, be allowed out of school to come hear us preach at different services. They give us no problems whatsoever. Um, they're not a good government; they're corrupt. But they're even more corrupt than our government is. But 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 they give us no problems as far as preaching the gospel. In fact, they allow us to do more preaching in Kenya than we're allowed to do in America. We might have freedom of religion, but people don't know what that means. If we truly had freedom of religion, I could talk Christ anywhere, but they have restrictions on us here in America. There, I can preach on the street if I want to, and we've done that before and hope to do it again. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. The families in the church take them up, even though they're struggling to take care of their own children, to feed and clothe their own children. They have a saying in Kenya, at least among the churches we've been at, what we have, we share, and they live that. They don't just say it, they mean it. I've seen them, somebody's got a loaf of bread, and they'll slice that thing up and share it with whoever needs it, even when they have very little. And the same way with the parents, if they see a child that's without a mom and a daddy, they'll say, we'll take him in. And so the people of the church come in and really take part and make great sacrifices to try and help what they can. They'll try to help with school fees, food, clothing, even though they were already struggling with their own kids. And I will say this, at Lucchese, it's not a lot, but we do have one church that sends them $50 a month to try to help feed the orphans. But again, that's probably less, maybe 1 week of food. So I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. But there's still a lot lacking for those kids, and a lot of them do struggle because the parents are already struggling. They struggle to pay school fees and finish their education. There's around 150 with the Sunday school kids and everything. You're getting around 180 to 200, somewhere in that range. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Even the water we get out of the wells, the hand dug wells, we're hand digging them, so we're getting, water at like 100 feet usually. Well, if you dig a well with a machine, you're usually going to go down several hundred feet or even a couple thousand feet to hit a different water table that has better water. The water that even comes out of the well sometimes will turn the teeth brown. It's better than what they had because they were getting water out of a stream that cows were using, and people were washing their clothes in that stream. So what they're getting is better than that, but um, it's still not great water. One of the things that we've done occasionally at the school, at least, is we've had somebody buy one of the big jugs of water where they can get you just like we do here. You just get one of the big jugs of water, 5 gallons, 8 gallons, something like that, and you just get good clean water from the store. But that doesn't always happen, and that's only been done at one church that I know of. Any other questions? I know we try to say a whole lot in a very short amount of time and cover, there's times I could spend an hour maybe on each church, but I know we don't have time for all that. But I thank you for letting us come and share a little bit of the information with you and trying to answer some questions. If you think of other questions later, feel free to contact us or ask us. You're not going to bother us. We actually like questions. That means people are at least looking for something to pray for, if nothing else. And they like to get information, and we never mind that a bit. And certainly pray for us that we can use wisdom in all that's done. It seems like a lot of times we're having to represent several men, that each one of them could be classified as a missionary realistically. And they're doing great work of trying to share the gospel. And we appreciate you allowing us this time to come and share this information with you. If there's no other questions, we'll turn it back over to Brother Gary.
Well, we are very thankful tonight for the opportunity for Brother Brandon and Sister Susan for the family to come, and we're very appreciative of how God has blessed and strengthened them with the work there in Kenya. And it's always good and refreshing to see people responding to the gospel and see the changes the gospel is making, first and foremost in their souls, but also in their everyday walk of life. So we want to give opportunity for you to stand, ask for a verse or song. Maybe something you want.